दुनिया से ये सुकून
Good evening. This is part 2 of Filth in Marrakesh. The judgment. I have 2 guests with me. I've got my expert, Brother Mdad. Thank you very much for coming on. I think you ought to come onto this show because you had a lot to tell me over a phone call about what you thought about part 1, and you are one of my experts, and I'm very intrigued to find out what you think about what was exposed in part 1. We've also got a special guest with us, Sister Parveen. Thank you very much for coming on. Just quickly, I'll give you an introduction. You called me up and incensed. You were incensed by the 2 guests and their thoughts, particularly about British women and their justification to going to Marrakesh, and obviously what happens in Marrakesh. So before we start, I'd like to thank my main sponsor, Hian Estate. If you're a landlord or a tenant and you're looking for a property or give out a property, reach out to them. They cover London. And also Simplex Coaching. If you're going through trauma, you need something mediated, reach out to Simplex Coaching. Right. Without further ado, Parveen, she's an entrepreneur in mental health. Thank you for coming on.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
Thanks. We appreciate you. We're going to dive straight into it now. So I had Mr. Truth, who had a mask on, and for obvious reasons, he afforded to say what he wanted to say because of the mask and the distorted voice. We also had Iqbal on, who visited Marrakesh not so long ago, and he came and spoke about his experiences. So, just quickly, what do you think about their accounts?
There's a lot to say about their accounts, especially Mr. Truth, as we call them, him, or how to say that. But basically, he's mentioned a lot of things that, although he calls himself Mr. Truth, he's not Mr. Truth. Hiding behind a mask and saying what you are doing, you're not owning it. It's more him being a coward, really. And
Strong word.
It's a very strong word. But the reason why I say that is, look, we're not all perfect. We've all got bits that are bad about us, but you own it. The fact that he's calling women in UK Teletubbies, broccoli, what was the other one? Elephants. And he said it more than once. It's quite offensive. And he was saying it's because when you go to Marrakesh, they're not island people. What was the word he used? He used they're exotic. Have you seen how diverse UK is? Especially if we're going to the British Muslim community, we're all very diverse. You've got lots of Moroccans here as well. So him pinpointing it as that, it did really rub a lot of people up the wrong way.
I can only imagine. I mean, he did call a few British women or some British women names, and I hope you saw that I, objectively disagreed.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that just to get a clap or anything like that. I genuinely did disagree because that's what I thought. I'll come back to you, Brother Mdad.
Yeah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Obviously, I share the same sentiments as well. If he is doing that and he's proud of what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, he isn't proud, is he? He's covered himself up.
Well, he's hiding behind his mask. Just like Batman, hiding behind his mask, but not anything like Batman. So the way I saw it was that he wanted the best bang for his buck. You could find maybe the type of women that he was after here, but he didn't want to pay for that. So he thought it would be better for him and cheaper for him to go over to another country and exploit the women over there. So it's absolutely disgusting what he's doing, and there is no justification for that at all. And you can see from the way he speaks, the way he views women. Now, I'm sure he's got a mother, he may have sisters, he may one day have daughters. Would he think the same way of them?
Hope not. In his acute defence, and I have to be objective and impartial here, I had a long, lengthy discussion about what he wanted to come on and say, and he did tell me that he'll only feel comfortable to expose what's been exposed. And to be fair, the audience are agreeing and disagreeing. There's some people that are saying that what he's saying is the truth, but no one wants to hear it.
Yeah.
Right? So in his defense, he's saying that this is the truth. And, you know, we've got British Muslim men.
The truth is what is happening.
What is happening, yes.
By all means, if that is what I've heard.
Yeah.
I've heard multiple times
Yeah.
over from multiple people
Yeah.
that men, married and unmarried,
Yeah.
are going to Morocco and doing these evil acts. So it is a phenomenon. So by all means, mention that it's a phenomenon. This is a case. This is something which I like the fact that you're addressing it, because it's something that we need to address and need to remedy. So it's great that he came on the show and spoke about it, but what is the way forward? And
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
why
I do agree with you that he started unconditionally attacking British Muslim women. I think it's completely uncalled for, and I want Sister Parveen to come back in here just to defend British Muslim women, because I made, well, I didn't really. There was no correlation. He was trying to say there's a causal link between going to pay for it in Marrakesh, which is easy and it's accessible, to dating a woman here, which I found bizarre, to say the least. Do you want to touch on that?
Him actually saying that just showed where his priorities are, and rightly so. In his defense, him coming out with the truth with a lot of British Muslim men where their priorities are. Because yes, rightly so, it is cheaper over there, but you're only paying for one thing, and that's zina. That's all you're paying for. As for here, okay, you're taking women out, you're dating them, you're taking them to nice restaurants, you're getting to know them, you're growing a bond. There's no price on that. So if his priorities are just to commit zina, by all means go there and do that. I'm not one to judge. However, to say that I don't even know if he's married or if he'll get married one day and he'll continue, then that makes it very wrong. And on top of that, what made it wrong is he's saying that British women are no good. It's only all about Moroccan women, which really and truly, I believe the only reason he's going to do that in Morocco, in Marrakesh, and why a lot of them are doing it in Marrakesh, is because it's more under the table there. You're not walking into a brothel, you're not walking into these places and people are seeing you. It's more you're at a dinner table or you're in a club and they approach you. They could well be a normal woman.
Precisely so.
Right.
You did mention before you came on that you're actually in Marrakesh a few weeks back or a month ago.
Yes.
What was your account?
So I've gone Marrakesh several times.
Okay.
However, it was always a family thing. This time round in July, I went with my cousin just for a long weekend, you know, just to relax, to be there in Marrakesh. Yes, we did enjoy the nightlife there. But the first night, we were living in a hotel right next door to Buddha Bar. Now, the day we got there, we were very tired. We went to the pool. My cousin had a massage. And I saw quite a lot of British men there.
Can you specify British, Muslim, Asian?
I would say British Asian. I wouldn't just single them out to Muslim. They were
Okay.
British Asian,
Right.
much older than me, and bear in mind I'm 36, much older than me. They're wearing their wedding bands. I thought nothing of it. They're here with their friends. They're having fun. That night I went into Buddha Bar, and funnily enough, they were on the table in front of us. There was probably about 6 or 7 of them. Now, it goes back to where me and my cousin was just sitting down, and one of these girls came next to us. You can tell it's one of these girls. She's on her own. She's ordered the cheapest thing on the menu. The waiters all know her. When I tell you, 2 of them from that group pounced on her straight away. So the girl chose the one she wanted, and they spoke all night. Now, me and my cousin, we were laughing about
Where was
that.
she from?
She was not Moroccan. She was Russian. And it's because we've heard her say it, right? She's Russian. She's not Moroccan. And this makes it even funnier with what the boys were saying on part 1 as well. Now, it doesn't stop there. The next day, I'm by the pool. My cousin's taking a nap upstairs, and he's walking around the hotel with her. So he was there with her for at least 3 days. This guy's wearing a wedding band. What are you doing, right? And you're bringing these women with you around everywhere. Now, if we're asking what his mates thought about it, there was mixed reviews on that table. Some of them were like, what is he doing? Our food's here. Others are like, does he realize that he's going to have to pay for her, and it's not just him chatting up a normal girl? So you could see that you can't say that all the men are out there for that one thing, but a lot of them are. And the ones that I've seen are the married ones, which is a shame. But for me, that was a big shock. Not that I didn't know Marrakesh had this. They did. But when it happens in front of you, and what all your friends have been telling you for many, many years, when they go out there, what they see, it's quite shocking.
Dare I say, and forgive me if you're offended, did one of these men approach you?
Yes. Okay, so I forgot that part of the story. So at the end of the night, Mr. Man and the lady left. So his group of people were still there. I've gone to the toilet now. I've come back, and our designated waiter came up to me saying, "I'm so sorry to disturb you and say this." And he looked genuinely embarrassed, and he was like, "The table over there wanted to buy you a bottle." And I was like, hell no. Because firstly, you've just seen one of their friends do that. Are they taking me with respect and just doing it how people in the UK do? Or are they doing it because they're expecting to pay for you? That's how it felt. It felt degrading because you don't know what they're actually thinking when you've seen them already act differently. So, of course, I turned it down, but me and my cousin was in shock about it.
Thank you very much. I just want to reiterate, a lot of these, so prostitution, particularly prostitution, it's legalized in many countries. And it should come up on your screen, the top 10 prostitution places in the world. And no, alhamdulillah, no Muslim countries are there because it's not legalized there. So places like Colombia, Barcelona, Spain, Nepal, Thailand, all of these countries are on there only because it's legalized there. Iqbal was talking about his account, about sitting in McDonald's and having women approach him. One thing that it is, like you said, it's a phenomenon here, where you can go to places like Marrakesh where it's not legalized and explicitly it's not everyone, but it's big business there. You know, the enticement of British Asian, and I can only speak about Muslims because I'm Muslim myself, right? And I see a lot of Muslim boys and men, married or single, go there to do what they want to do. And it's not all of them, you know, it depends on your integrity, right? And obviously I get the appeal. Like anywhere else in the world, Moroccan, amongst many, many women from different countries, are attractive. But, you know, there's attractive and ugly in everywhere, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So my question is to you, Brother Emdad, why is it that Asian boys and men, Muslim, I don't care about anyone else, to be fair. They could go, I mean, it's not a crime.
It's not who you're addressing.
It's not who I'm addressing. It's not a crime. They could do what they like. The reason I've addressed this issue is to prevent them from doing so, because it's a major, major sin. And obviously, by extension of that, if you're married, you're breaking up a family or you're hurting your wife and by extension children. So why is it that Asian Muslim men in this country feel the need to go to Marrakesh as opposed to places where, you know, it's promoted and advertised? Why do they feel comfortable going there?
Now, why is a bemusement to myself? The reasons that I can put is probably it's cheap to go there.
Yeah.
It's out of the way. They could do the same things here, but they're cheap. So they go to somewhere where they get the best bang for their buck. Okay. No one, when they've gone there, they can disguise it. I'm going with the boys. I'm going out, you know, just to have fun for a weekend. And they're getting up to disgusting, evil things. So that's probably why they're going to Morocco. The fact that, you know, when the guy said, "Oh, they're more exotic," so I was like, "Well, this is London. You've got every nationality in the world here."
But the level, it's a different level playing
They
field.
don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
So they want to get a cheaper, cheaper version of that. So, and they can disguise it. If they did it here, they may be more likely for them to get caught. They can say, "I'm going away with the boys." They can disguise it that way. So it's cowardly, it's disgusting, and if they're married, that is just evil.
Funny enough, when I released part one, and if you haven't watched part one, go and watch part one. It's definitely insightful and eye-opening. I had several calls, and a brother that I know very respectable, he called me up. He's a bit older than me, and he said that a few years back, his friends I think some of them were married and some weren't. They hired out a villa, and for 7 days and nights, it was all out and out debauchery. So 7 nights of boozing and drugs and escorts and hookers for those 7 nights. And what he told me was quite remarkable. He said that he actually didn't realize that they booked a villa, and so what he did is he booked a hotel and left because he didn't want to be within that environment. And I understand that. And anywhere in the world you can go then party, and if you opt. But
So I was in Dubai recently.
Sure.
For a business trip.
Yeah.
And there were hookers everywhere.
Dubai is disgusting.
Like,
It's on a
I went there for work. You know, I was in the hotel. A friend of mine I haven't seen for many years. We met up, came back to my hotel. In the hotel that I was staying in, hookers everywhere. I went to another hotel for a business meeting, hookers. And it's shocking. Like Dubai was more prevalent than here.
It's on steroids there, yeah.
It's just
Just to
disgusting.
add with that one, where I was staying in Dubai last year when I went, there's a roundabout there.
Okay.
And you drive down there and it's so busy, but that roundabout, women all around it and they're all hookers. And you're thinking, oh my God, this is Dubai.
This is Dubai.
Right?
I didn't expect that. So
Exactly.
it meant to be a conservative country.
Yeah.
I never forget when walking, I was there for a good few weeks. On the floor, everywhere, you got call cards.
Yes, I've seen that.
And it's just disgusting. Like, people obviously are going to Dubai as well, boys' trips. And who knows what they're getting up to. There were Arabs. I remember I went in the elevator up to my floor, and an Arab guy got in. The tradition is there, you give salam. I gave salam. The guy didn't want to give salam, but he returned it. He looked Arab. And then when my friend said the guy's Saudi, he's come here to play around. So it's not only British guys that are doing it.
Yeah.
Saudis are also doing it. I used to live in Saudi on the eastern province, and there's a bridge between Saudi and Bahrain. On the weekends, that bridge is jam-packed with Saudis going to Bahrain to drink and play around.
So is it safe for me to make an assertion that wealthy or wealthier Muslim men with this, I don't know, low iman do this everywhere, where and wherever?
Listen, we live in a highly sexualized society. Problems are not linear. Problems are multifaceted. There are multiple reasons for problems. So we live in a highly sexualized society. If you're consumed in that culture, you're watching things that you shouldn't watch. You're engrossed in culture, music, whatever. Talk about it with the boys. You know, your desires are heightened. So the things that we've heard about on your show are a consequence of that highly sexualized society. I have children. I am very careful with their phones. I give them 1 hour. I lock down everything. Only websites that they can see I allow. No laptops. The TV we watch, no adverts, because the adverts are worse than the actual programs and films. I'm very careful, but even still, I know they go out into the world. I know school children, my son's a 15-year-old boy, they talk about pornography amongst his age is just normal. So this is the society we live in. So the things that these boys get up to, it's not acceptable. I do not condone it. But do you expect otherwise? Men have needs. Men want to fulfill their needs. Men that don't want to pay the price, don't want to be a man and marry a woman and give her her rights, they will go out and do the acts that we heard about on the last show.
Thanks for that, Brother Amdad. I want to bring Sister Parveen in again. So both of the guests from the previous episode somehow they addressed the causal effects of them and boys like themselves, or men that do go to Marrakesh and do what they do, as a direct consequence of women in this country being rigid, if I may say. And rigid is I say that with euphemism. What was quite mind-boggling to me is married men, And and I asked Mr. Truth, why is it that married men go over there? And he gave me a very shallow, vulgar answer. He said sex. So can we talk about those married men from here that do go over to Marrakesh or Dubai or anywhere else in the world, Thailand, anywhere else in the world, right? They go and choose women that they prefer. Why is it that they go from? Is it safe to say that they're from a happily married home, and the reason I'm asking this, it's not a loaded question. I genuinely want to know: is it because they've got unhappy marriages, and particularly relations in the bedroom are at its all-time low, and that's what propels them to go over to other countries to cheat?
This is a very complex question you've asked, so I'm going to try and compact it as much as possible. However, firstly, going back to these two guys, when they've said that, especially the other one who was sat on my chair,
Iqbal. Yeah.
he said it's because he's seen his mates who are very good looking marry broccolis or marry Teletubbies.
Right.
I'm really sorry here, but you do attract what you feel you are. So if you're attracting a broccoli, you're a broccoli, mate. Sorry, that's the way I'm going to say it, right? But then going back to unhappy marriages, the thing that I see that they do is people pleasing. They want to please everyone and say, yep, I've got a wife from back home. They're very good. They're looking after me. They're doing everything. But yet they are unfulfilled inside themselves because they're always running after what they don't have. And that's why they feel that they need to cheat. They're not going to cheat in the UK, rightly, like you said. They're not going to cheat in the UK because they've got too much to lose. Majority of them, I don't even think will pay for this zina in Dubai. The reason they go to Morocco is because it's cheaper and it's easier for them to get. But then also, it's not just because they're unhappy. Their wife could be giving them everything. They could have lovely, beautiful kids and a wife that does everything for them. But they're always after more and more and more. And it is the society that we live in. But also, they're very insecure about themselves. And their priorities, like I said from the beginning, their priorities are not in the right place. And that's
so
the compact
you're saying it's
version of it.
purely lustful desires.
Purely.
Again, I refer back to my guest from the previous episode, and I come back to Brother Emdad now. They spoke about the lack of attraction in this country. I'm not sure whether they were speaking on behalf of themselves or men in general, and saying that women in this country are not attractive. And Iqbal candidly, which was bizarre as well, he mentioned an NHS statistic about, if I can recollect and recall, forgive me, Iqbal, if I've misquoted, he said that in the 1990s, women on average were 5'3" and weighed 53 point something kg. In 2023, the average height being 5'3", those same women are weighing, was it 62.8 kg? So talk about the attraction levels, and is that a reason or is that a precursor? And I'll come to you. I know you're aghast.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So as mentioned, problems are multifaceted,
Right.
and their solutions are also multifaceted. So what we have in this society, generally speaking, is that the waistline of both male and female is widening. The health quality of people is degrading. So yes, men and women are both not looking after themselves. Okay, men can say, yeah, women are getting plump, but I'm sure that they are as plump as well. When people complain about that, well, I say, well, look at yourself. You complain about the woman being overweight. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
But look at you.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So we should both be in tip-top shape. Islam teaches us that. So that's one thing. Okay. Men have a greater sexual desire, I believe, than women. They say that men to cheat is innate in men. In Islam, the marriage, if you look to the verse about marriage, it starts off with marry the women of your choice, 2, 3, or 4. If you can't, then marry one. Or if you don't have the means, but you have to be just. Okay? So for men to marry more than one is the norm. Okay, we live in a culture where that is looked down upon. Well, if you look down upon that, men still have that desire. You can't change that desire in them. So they go and do it through illegal means. I have a cat, okay? And people always talk about like cat, should you let the cat out or not? It's the cat's nature to go out and play and do all this sort of stuff. We're happy to accept the nature for animals and that they should fulfill their nature. Why do we suppress the nature of humans? Okay, so that's one thing, okay? But it doesn't mean that a man to marry more than one woman has to be a man, not a male. Most men, in my view, are adult boys. They're not men. I speak that, most of my male friends, they'll probably pounce on me for saying that. I don't care. That's what I see as the truth. They don't stand up and take the responsibility of one family. How on earth are you going to take the responsibility of another family? So what do? They have their weekends away in Morocco and do it on the sly, commit zina, as the sister said, and they're having their short-term fun. They're breaking families, ruining their own lives, ruining the lives of their children, their wives. And what waits for them in the afterlife is far worse.
Which is the inevitable truth. Polygamy is a whole different topic altogether, and I'll definitely bring you on when we do address polygamy. So if I can summarize what you've said, so it's biologically inherent in man to have more than one suitor.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
And that's why Islam ordains that.
Okay. However, there are conditions and prerequisites in place in order for one to attain that. Now, I agree with you that most men are not men. They're male, but they're not men. And then there's an episode coming out after this talking about manhood and how to attain manhood. In a utopian world, if we're all men, and you treated women like women, that's a different paradigm altogether. We're in this world, and this world is full of desires and lust and evil and all of this, all the other things that come with it, right? So let's assume that men are not men, or 80% aren't, and this inherent biological desire or lust that they have, they can only attain. Does that mean that, what are you saying, that they have no choice but to go and cheat because they've got no other?
Not at all. So you can engross yourself in this sexualized culture. You can watch the stuff that you shouldn't be watching. You can listen to the stuff that you shouldn't be listening to. You can go out your door and just look around and like it's a fairground, like it's open game. I live in a society just like they do, but I control what I watch. I control what I listen to. I control what I say. I go out and see the same things, but as Islam ordains me, you should lower your gaze. And what I see outside, what I see even just opening my phone, I shouldn't be seeing that. This is an unnatural thing to be seeing. I should only be seeing the flesh of my wife in reality. I shouldn't be seeing that everywhere I look. But we live in a society which exaggerates the sexual desire because you can make money from that. Okay? Sex sells. So we live in a society. Okay? If we live in a society, we have to be very controlled in that. Now, I'm guessing these guys are watching stuff. They want to now act the stuff. Their desires have been heightened.
And also, it's probably a form of power as well.
A form of power as well, for whatever reason. So we do not live in the vacuum in this society. So those are the checks and balances you need to put upon yourself.
Thanks for that, Brother Imdad. So if I may say so, it's abstention. And I'll use a silly example. Alcohol is promoted widely in this country, and we're not immune from it as Muslims. Even though it's forbidden in our religion, alcohol is easily accessible. And wherever you see alcohol as an intoxicant, it usually one can deduce that if you take alcohol, it means you're going to have a lot of fun. So they conflate the two together, right? Similarly with women, right? If you haven't got the moral principle and moral integrity to abstain, then it's fair game for everyone, and it's anarchy. So essentially, just back to your point, I agree, and we'll go into a longer discussion another time about the inherent nature of a man and his carnal, lustful desires. But ultimately, we're Muslim, and living under the Islamic auspices, you have to follow law and legislation. Thank you very much, brother.
Just to add one final point, is that not to blame the women, but the women can potentially help their men by not, what you have phenomenon when they get married, they don't use their modest clothes to hide their modesty, but also to hide, they let go.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that that's the reason men are leaving abroad, but I'm sure it will make it easier upon their men, if that they found in their women what they also see outside.
Very diplomatically put. Very diplomatically put. Can I add to that? Essentially, what he's saying is look after yourself at all costs.
Both men and women.
Both men and women. And obviously, the two gentlemen that were here on the last episode, you know, they used slurs like elephant, broccoli, and all the rest of it, right? But I think if you're attractive, generally, rule of thumb, you're attracting attractive women, and vice versa. So if there is an elephant woman, most probably she'll be with an elephant man, and vice versa. Does that make sense? As crass as it sounds, that's what you see. Yeah, so it shouldn't be a problem for people that are attractive and good looking anyway. Sister Parveen, Brother Emdad, very diplomatically, very skilled at it, mashallah, gave his 2 pence on what the two guests said previously. Do you wanna add to the attack, the onslaught they had on British Muslim Asian women?
This is the thing. I completely understand what this brother has been saying.
Sure.
Because what he's been saying is correct. But the main problem here is these two men, when they came up here, they are essentially putting down the women in Britain. Once again, like I said, you've got Moroccans here, you've got Pakistanis here, you've got Bangladeshis here, you've got Indians here, you've got a vast range of people here. Do you think if you pick them up and put them in Morocco, they would look any different? They're the same. You pick up the same women from Morocco, you put them here, they're the same. So if you want to go ahead and fulfill your selfish desires, don't put the other women down. If you are not man enough and your priorities are not straight enough for you to be dating a woman, to get to know them, to build a life with them, don't put them down. Go about your own business. But with the married ones, shame on them the way they're doing it, and they're putting down other women as well. On top of that, going back to my story, just because their friend went off with one of these women, don't think that all the women there are the same. Don't paint us all with the same brushes. And like you said, if you look like an elephant, you'll attract an elephant. But also, it's not about the looks. It's about how you mentally are inside. If you are mentally secure with how you look and you're happy within yourself, you will attract the right people. And it's not all about looks. It's not about the statistics of the NHS, whether someone is fat or not. It's about what you're looking for from them. And in a marriage, you know, the men need to start knowing how to say to the women what they want in terms of the sexual side in the bedroom, what they want. Then the women need to sometimes as well give in to that, because then you know that you're fulfilling your husband's needs. So I'm not attacking women, but I'm just saying maybe that would help. But then as well, with the two men that were here, honestly, I think once again, either they're in the wrong circles or they're watching the wrong things, because even if their women did do that, especially Mr. Batman, I think he would still go out and do that. I honestly feel sorry for the other one that was sat in my place. Really, really feel sorry.
Why do you feel sorry for him?
Although he said his friends were doing it and he saw it out there, I did see an innocence in him.
Right.
But I did see that you never know what they do behind closed doors, right? And I just feel that for him, and please excuse me if I'm wrong, and I do apologize to him for this, but for him to say that, oh, these two women came up to me in McDonald's and they were talking to me, and the other one said they're prostitutes. How do you know? They could have just been friendly, but because you've already got that in the back of your mind because you're in Morocco, you're thinking that. And if your friends are going out there doing this, who says he's not doing that as well? And he's going to want to follow suit.
Okay, I get your assertion. I have to defend a guest of mine. There is no factual evidence in saying that he was complicit in that, but by all means, you're free to make assertions, but I will defend him. I didn't see no evidence to say that he was committing any zina out there. But I get what you're saying. I just want to stick with you here and talk about attitudes here, because this is far greater than having a fumble out in Marrakesh or in Dubai or somewhere in Colombia, right? The attitudes here. So I use the term rigid, and women may be rigid in this country, and this itself may be an endemic that we're facing. I'm not saying that sort of equates to men going out and cheating with whores. I'm not saying that at all. But, and you touched very diplomatically on women being a bit more susceptible to the man, etc., etc. But I feel like both of my guests were extremely frustrated with their experiences with women in this country, and I think Iqbal went off on a tirade to say, "Oh, nowadays you can't address anyone in boots or wherever he addresses them or approaches them, and they don't appreciate that he's been chivalrous and he just address them as opposed to going on to TikTok or Instagram and sliding into their DM." And that behavior change and that attitude change has definitely riled him up to think, oh, women don't appreciate my chivalry and my courage to address them on the streets. Obviously, I would speak to him privately and tell him there's a time and place and there's an approach that you have to take. What would you say about that?
I think you're very correct in what you said. There's a time and place and there's approach you take.
Yeah.
However, there's a small minority of them men that has made him feel like that, because these girls have had these small minority of men slide into their DMs, talk to them.
It's not a minority, if I may politely push back.
There's more than a minority.
If there's a half-decent attractive girl, half-decent, she doesn't even have to be, let's use the scale, 8 out of 10. Let's talk about an average 6.5, 7 out of 10. You know, I have seen anecdotal evidence and witnessed it with my own eyes. They've got 10,000 of likes.
Of course.
And these men are not liking them because of their personality or they appreciate their features. They're just thinking, I may get lucky. But they're not, because it's like the lottery. It's like you ogling at, Halle Berry, for argument's sake. She's not going to look at you because you're ogling at her. You're lower than her automatically.
But this is it. My thing is, these women, as well as myself, I've had men slide into my DMs and I thought, oh, you're half decent. Let me get to know you. No, they're not half decent. And then you find out, okay, they're just idolizing the way you look. They just like you because you're a pretty woman on their arm. That's all they want, right? So when these women have gone through that, once again, it's past traumas again. Yeah. Once these women have gone through that, even if Iqbal, for example, was such a nice guy and he slid into their DMs and he spoke to them.
No, he doesn't do that. He refuses to. He'd rather approach them or cost them in M&S.
Even if he did.
Or Cafe Nero, as he...
There we go.
Yeah, Cafe
he
Nero.
can do that, but then he needs to understand your approach is very, very big, because these women have already gone through 1,001 men that are trying to grab their attention and want them for the wrong things. But going back to when you said, putting it nicely, that women here are rigid, do they honestly think that when they go to Morocco and Marrakesh, all the women are like the prostitutes they see? No. A lot of them.
It's a business transaction.
Exactly.
It's a business transaction.
They are a poorer country. They've seen this is what the men like and this is how they're going to support themselves. They've gone and done it. So I'm not going to put these women down for that. But what I am going to put down is these men who are saying that all the women in Marrakesh will be like that.
No,
so
that's,
they're very good.
I don't think they're saying that. I think there is some women that are there for that pure business, whether it's because of poverty or because they enjoy doing it. Who knows? And I'd have to interview one of them to find out. But back to the point about rigidity, right? And the idea, and I am happy that, and I can only talk about Muslim women here, yeah, that they are rigid.
Yes.
Because, and Brother Imdad is a lot more knowledgeable than me. You approaching someone's daughter, you need a wali then, no, a mahram.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's good that our women are rigid, and it's good that our women won't give any Tom, Dick, and Harry their number and say, "Oh, let's go out to Cafe Nero." No pun. I'm not having a dig at you, Iqbal. I'm just generally speaking here, and I'm not saying that. I'm just generally from a theoretical perspective. I'm saying that it's good that they're rigid. There's certain channels that you have to go through, whether it's through their older brother or their father, whoever their wali is, to get to know them. But generally, if you're going to an attractive girl that is up for that, then ultimately it comes down to your game, which means charm, good looks, style, how much money you got in your account, and all of those things matter. So,
But then saying that as well, a lot of my friends who are men,
yeah,
they've all said that the woman they are going to marry,
Yeah.
they don't want them giving it left, right, and center to everyone, or everyone has seen them. They want that rigid girl. So if you're approaching a girl and you see they're rigid, it's because they've got that standard there as well. They want that. So for you to say, "Oh, they're just rigid. Let me go to Marrakesh and I can get any girl there and I feel boosted." Once again, your
Can I
priorities
just ask
as
the
well.
friends that you have that want a rigid girl, do they also go and have girlfriends and what have you?
They did before, but the ones that they wanted to marry, they want. This is my
Isn't
point.
that a not a contradiction,
It
but
is.
they are they want to play with the girls that they can play with. But
Exactly.
they want those girls to be their
But this
wives.
is it. So these two that
Yeah.
came in the show
Yeah.
last time, the podcast, not the show, but they basically are saying that the women are rigid, so they are going to commit
that-
zina
absolute-
elsewhere. So
yeah.
their priority, it goes back to their priorities again.
Yeah.
Their priorities are wrong.
Yeah.
They want to feel big. They want to feel like a man. I can pull this girl and that girl and
Well, they
show
can't.
off to their
It's
friends.
just the cash.
it's not pulling though. That's the thing. Let's not get conflated.
No,
It's
they're
not pulling.
paying.
It's paying.
for
They're
sex.
I'm sure if you go
And
to
they don't
yeah.
want to pay high fees, so they go to the chicken cottage around the corner.
as opposed to Dubai.
There we
As
go.
opposed to Dubai.
Exactly.
I'm glad we
Yeah.
clarified that.
Yeah.
Quickly, brother and dad. This notion that, and I want to stick to the rigidity of women, and again, at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here as high and mighty and say I'm religious or everyone is religious. We're Muslim men, and I think it's very important to caveat that with we're modern Western Muslim men. I haven't got a long beard. I don't wear a thobe 24/7 or say mashallah, alhamdulillah 24/7, right? There are brothers out there that do that, and good for them. But generically, men that look like me, not specifically like me, but fall into that circle of men that they're semi-religious and they've got Western ideals and stuff like
Which is
that.
probably the majority of
The majority of let's call a spade, right? That's a fact. For those men that appreciate the idea of courting, forget the ones that choose to pay for prostitutes. I think that's more of a dirty secret. But the notion of courting and romance and dating, because that's normal.
Yeah.
I spoke about going to a sister's mahram or wali to ask for a hand. Most men don't want to do that. Especially young men, teenagers, they don't want to. They want to court and date and go to theme parks that are a bit older, restaurants and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
How do you address that? We can't address that.
So the way I see it, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, is Islam is there as a blessing for us. It's not there to make our lives harder. It's not there to restrict our desires, which many people think, right? Now, I was speaking to my nephew recently about marriage. He's marriageable age, he's looking for a spouse. And I said to him, the beauty of Islam, the way it deals with marriage, is that it deals with marriage ration first, emotion second. Now, what do I mean by that? In the Western culture, it's all about emotion. I love her, I will marry her. Okay? So we as Muslims living in this culture, we want to have the same type of romance. And we put the emotion before the ration. When you put the emotion first, your ration goes out the window. Okay? Now you two may be terrible together. You may be impractical to live together. There may be so many problems, but because you love each other, it all goes out the window. The beauty of Islam is that you look first about practicality. Are am I and her suitable? I told him, look at the small things, look at multiple things. Are you two compatible with each other? What happens, when she gets angry, when you get angry? What things, I said to him, you traveled, what things did friends that you stayed with really pee you off? You need to know that, because if she does that, that will pee off as well, blah, blah, blah. You need to look at families. Marriage in Islam is two families coming together, not two people coming together. So put the ration before the emotion. If you are rationally suited for each other, the emotion will naturally follow. But you also need to have a bit of spark between you as well. So there's not to deny that. Yeah. So those, I know maybe the majority of Muslims, they want to find a guy, a girl who, through, we say the normal means, going out, dating, meeting her at university and college. And some of them can become successful, no doubt. But we find in the Muslim community, our divorce rates are skyrocketing. Okay, I wonder why.
Divorce attorneys are having a field day.
Exactly, I wonder why. Our divorce rates are at the same level, if not higher, than our non-Muslim countries.
I think we're acclimatizing, but that's a topic for another day, and I'll certainly be sure to bring you on quickly, Brother Imdad. The reason I did this part 1, part 2 episode is not to denigrate any country or a people or a specific city. Yeah. Facts are facts, right? It's more to deter and prevent Muslim British men from going on to whichever country. Yeah. Marrakesh is one of the destinations, and by extension Agadir. Deter them from committing zina. Yeah. That's what it is with prostitutes. It's that deterrence. Yeah. So quickly, if you summarize, what would be your message to men that go there, not to court or anything like that or have romance? I'm talking about guys that go there out and out. I've got 400 dirhams. I don't know how much it is. 300 dirhams. I want you for the night. What would be your words to them in order to deter them?
So I would say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, most importantly, you are paying for an eternal fire. The crime of committing, if you are married, in Islam, we have capital punishment. And we only have that for a handful of actions. One of them is committing zina for the married male or female, because you are breaking the family. And the family unit is the most important unit in society. One thing, okay? If you don't fear Allah, okay, that's not an issue for you. That's just another subject, okay? You're breaking your household in which there are children. What happens when these children find out, when your wife finds out? You might go over there so you don't want them to find out. I find that disgusting. Okay? You are living a lie. Lies always catch up with you. Always catch up with you. So that's another thing. The other thing, the reason you've got yourself in that situation is probably because you're engrossing yourself in a sexualized culture. Maybe. Get yourself out of that culture. It is addictive. Porn is prevalent. Porn music is prevalent. Yeah. The guys that you hang around with, they're probably talking about women in such a way. It is as I said, the solution is multifaceted, and it's not easy, right? So I'm not trying to denigrate them. There are channels, as you've put on this show before, there are ways to get help. Don't lead it to that trip to Morocco with the boys. If the boys are going, just say no. I'm not going to go.
By all means, you can go, just abstain from...
if you don't want to drink, don't go to the bar.
Yes, true.
If you don't want to hook up, don't go to Leicester Square.
Is that where it is now?
I don't know.
Thank you very much, Brother Imdad. Quickly, Sister Parveen, thank you again for coming on. Final few words, just to deter British Muslim men that do this. It's not the majority, but there are some, single and married.
See, my outlook is a little bit different.
Sure.
Because in the day and age where we're living right now, it's going to be very hard to stop them. They're going to still do what they want to do. But please have respect about the other women who you are calling rigid. Have respect for your wife at home. Have respect for someone else's sister or mum who is not like that. You wish to go and pay for a prostitute, to do this, go and do your business. Do not drag other people in there with you. Oh, I'm there. This is what I've done. Come on. Come with me. We can do this. We can do that. No need. Do that business quietly and don't put down other women because it's unfair on them. And that's what
Thank you very
how I'll
much.
finish it.
Thank you very much for engaging. My last 2 pence is the allure of beautiful women expands across the world. And if you're unhappy or unsettled in your marriage, you know, reach out to Simplex Close. You know, more importantly, sort it out amongst yourselves, whether it's a bedroom problem or it's a mental problem or a compatibility problem. It doesn't mean that you resort to go and cheating with a prostitute. And also, just for the single men that, and I think the 2 guests that came on previously have talked about the attraction and they can't get attractive women here. I think up your game. And if that's one of your criteria is that you want a very, very pretty woman, you know, there's no harm in that. It's not a sin. It's not a crime. Up your game. Don't go and pay for it because that's still going to keep you dense. Thank you very much for watching. Our next episodes are going to be a lot more serious, even though this was a serious topic. And we're going to delve into international affairs, Gaza, Lebanon, and we will be touching on that territory and really looking at what can be done there from a British lens. So thank you very much for watching, and we shall see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.